Hey, this is Katya Shipchuk from Kidlit TV, and I am interviewing Henry Herz. So, Henry, how are you, and how is everything going so far?
I'm great, Katya. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, and I can't wait to learn all about your book. As an author who writes sci-fi and fantasy for kids, what advice would you give to young writers of this genre?
Well, I'd give the same advice for any genre. The answer is read. Read, read, read.
Yep.
If you want to write fantasy, then read lots of fantasy. If you want to write biography, then you read lots of biography. There's a saying that a lion is the product of all the zebras that it's eaten, and I think a writer is the product of all the books that he or she has read.
Yeah. So that's great advice. And also, what do you think parents and teachers will love about when you give an impa penny?
So, it's a fantasy medieval homage to Laura Numeroff's "When You Give a Mouse a Cookie." So, or I should say, "If You Give a Mouse a Cookie." So, it's a cyclical tale with the theme of it's the thought that counts, and so I think they'll appreciate the theme. But also, part of why I like writing fantasy is that oftentimes the stories use mythological creatures, and once you touch mythology, now you have a really interesting educational opportunity, because now you can delve into the mythology of a particular creature and the country where it came from. Imps are a Germanic mythology, but if we had a minotaur, you could dig into Greek mythology, and so now you've got geography and mythology as potential areas of inquiry for the kid.
And how'd you come up with the idea?
Oh, for imp?
Yep.
I don't know. How do you come up with any idea, right? Of course, we have to give credit to Laura Numeroff for the original idea, but I thought it would be fun to take that and put a spin on it, right? To really make it really different than just a mouse and a cookie. So anything to get kids interested in fantasy is what I like to write. So why not take something that they're familiar with and change it a little bit?
What inspired you to get into the fantasy genre? Like, what was your biggest inspiration from the start?
My original inspiration was back in elementary school when I read Where the Wild Things Are by Sendak, because I fell in love with that book, and I was pretty much hooked on fantasy from that point on. And so I became a fantasy and science fiction reader, and then I became a parent later in life, and I thought it would be fun to share my love of fantasy with my sons. And we ended up writing a story together just for our own enjoyment. And I got some advice that said, "Oh, you should think about trying to get that published." And I tried and failed, and we decided, you know what, we're just going to self-publish it anyway. And we got a lot of success with that. The title of that book is Nymph and Toad. And then one thing led to another, and then I kept at it and improving my craft, and now I'm a traditionally published children's book author. Monster Goose Nursery Rhymes was our first, and When You Give an Impa Penny is our second, and we've got 3 more in the pipeline, so under contract, and hopefully more after that, but we'll see.
Yeah, and congratulations!
Thank you.
And what do you think kids like most about your books?
Well, I think it's going to vary from child to child. But if I imagine myself as a young child, I just loved creatures. You know how little kids like monsters and dinosaurs just because they're different, and they can do things that the kids can't do. They're big and strong, or they can fly. And so for me, it was always about the monsters, the creatures, if you will. And I think if you've got a kid with a good imagination, and they'd like to imagine what it would be like to hang out with something completely otherworldly, then these are the books for you.
Would you give an impa penny?
I would definitely give an impa penny, because you just don't know what's going to happen, but it's bound to be a lot of fun. It's interesting. Imps are sort of mischievous, as opposed to brownies, which are supposed to be helpful. Brownies are supposed to clean up the house when you're asleep, but imps are just more of like they just like to make trouble. So there's bound to be a lot of hilarity when you give an impa penny.
What do you think parents and educators will think? What do you think they think about Kidlit TV? Like, what do you think will be the most useful for them?
Well, I don't know what I would say is most useful. I think just the idea of a site that promotes reading and interest in books for kids is a very positive site that any parent or educator would be interested in. And of course, the few sites can boast as energetic and charismatic a hostess as yourself. So I think that's a big selling point of Kidlit TV as well.
And also, do you want to say anything else about your book? Like when it'll be published or anything? Like you want to add anything to it?
Sure. So When You Give an Impa Penny is being published by Pelican. It's expected out next month, February. It will be available on the Pelican website and, of course, Amazon and Barnes & Noble websites and independent booksellers like Mysterious Galaxy Books in San Diego. My website is henryherz.com. The last name is Herz. You can find out about me and my kids because they help co-write these books. And I like to interview Kidlit authors and illustrators, so we have lots of fun interviews there as well.
And that must be so much fun working together with your kids.
It is, although, we've been doing this for a while now. It started when they were really little, and they're kind of growing out of it, so I'm more and more on my own. But it was really fun to do. They would sell, too. Like, when we self-published, we'd go to farmers markets and places like that.
Oh, that's so cute!
Yes,
that sounds really exciting! Because it's like kind of like a family thing, and that's what like parents should do with their kids. And look, you made a career.
That's right. We're entrepreneurs.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Henry. It's been a short interview, but very informative. And we can't wait until When You Give Impa Penny comes out and gets published, because we are going to support it all the way.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being here.